What up is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads, where we do daily Dynasty videos, and I'm just a dad doing Dynasty Football. We are doing ACL injuries and the recovery and how important it is and when to expect some of these key players to come back in 2021. And what gives me some of the ideas of when they have recovery or when they're going to be coming back is I went through 8 years of schooling. 4 of those went through a doctorate degree of doctorate of chiropractic, where we worked on some recovery of injured athletes, ACLs, concussions, and things like that. And this is just ACL. So we're going to go through 4 big players, 4 incredibly important players to Dynasty football and the recovery. And the biggest one was the first one that was torn. It was actually tied, I guess you can say, with Courtland Sutton, but tied with that was Saquon Barkley. And his was torn September 20th, but he didn't have surgery until October 30th. And so he didn't have surgery for a good 40 days afterwards. And so usually you have surgery between, I would say, 7 to 14 days afterwards. But sometimes there's different reasons why. You need cartilage to heal up, meniscus to heal up. He could have potentially tore his meniscus as well, and maybe they wanted that to heal up first before they wanted to go dig in and get the ACL repaired. They didn't really share information. And a lot of times NFL teams do this. They don't share the extent of the injury. And so an ACL injury, just in general, it looks like our kneecap bends back and forth, and we have a ligament that goes in the middle of it. You have actually 2 of them, but one of them goes to the front part of that knee. And if you're going at a super fast speed, the deceleration will sometimes pop that knee. And of course, it becomes super unstable. And so that's the ACL. You have PCL that goes the opposite way. Very hard to be torn unless you're Paris Campbell or somebody. And then you have an MCL, which is the medial side, which is the inside. And you have an LCL on the outside. And then you have meniscus tears, which you've heard probably of those quite a bit. And those are cushioned on the middle, and the outer side as well. And with some of these injuries and some of these cutting abilities, sometimes people get soft tissue injuries later because they're still trying to basically get into full football shape mode. And so Saquon Barkley having surgery on October 30th, expect him to be out until probably the beginning of the season. I could see him really not being fully utilized until week 2, week 3, week 4. And that's just because of when he tore it, when he had surgery. They said the average football player has about 50 weeks to get back to full recovery and full football mode. If you're playing in the backyard and we're playing cornhole or bag toss, or heck, you're playing some darts or something like that, you don't need your knee to do those movements. But if you're going from 20 miles per hour to 0, cutting in pads with a 300-pound guy chasing you down and hitting you, you're going to need your knee to be back to 100% health. And so Saquon Barkley, I could see him having a really slow start to 2021, but don't be concerned about that. 50 weeks of after September 20th, you're right around that season start. So if he starts the season, it may just be a little bit to get him back into the groove of things. Another player that tore it on the exact same day was Courtland Sutton, and they said that he tore up his knee. What does that mean? Tearing up your knee, that could be ACL, PCL, MCL. You could have multiple injuries. He also had an AC joint injury. He had a shoulder issue. We're talking about a multitude of issues for Courtland Sutton. But I think they didn't show surgery date on this. I searched and searched. Couldn't find it. I saw pictures of him on Instagram with his knee, he was in a scooter and stuff like that, but they are in a little brace and stuff like that, but they didn't really show it. And so I'm assuming he's going to be kind of in that exact same ability as Saquon Barkley. He's going to be doing just as much cutting as at the wide receiver position. Running backs and wide receivers, again, cutting a ton versus maybe a quarterback position or an offensive lineman position. So Courtland Sutton, again, might start off slow 2021 season. But again, it shows that PT players can definitely recover well after an ACL injury. There's been plenty of data through there. And I know that Adrian Peterson always comes up as the number one guy. Don't think of that being he got injured in December and came back in September, a 9-month recovery, came back and tore apart the league with an MVP year. Don't think that that is the new normal. Don't think that that is, he's the exception to the rule. Again, more likely than not, just pretend it's going to be 12 full months, because 50 weeks is about the average. If you're a little bit more elite, like Saquon Barkley has elite athleticism, maybe you're talking knock a couple weeks off. But again, we're talking about almost a full year here for most of these players. And that's just what shows with recovery. And there's been plenty of players that have torn 1-2 ACLs in their career and still did plenty well. Frank Gore, you are one of them. He is Mr. Old guy, like almost, he feels like he's 40. I don't know how old he is. But Frank Gore, again, tore 2 ACLs, and he has been fine completely since. And that was even back, a little bit back, way back when. That was back in my time. So number 3 we're going to be talking about is Odell Beckham. He tore his October 25th. So we're talking a month later, and he had surgery November 10th. So that's pretty standard. Again, 2-ish weeks again after the ACL injury occurred. Didn't say that he tore anything else with it. So that's a good sign for fantasy owners. But I don't expect him to be back until about a month into the season. And so just know that going into a redraft leagues, you're probably not going to have him for the first month. And know that going into Dynasty leagues, you're not going to expect him for the first 4 weeks. So plan accordingly. And also know his value is continually going to not be very high until he actually performs. So look at what his value is. A great sell point might be right when he comes back. If his hype is good, either right when he comes back or week 1 the week 1 that he returns, which might be week 5. So week 5 comes back, and if the hype is real, that might be a great sell point, because Odell Beckham has shown that his talent has been well in his past, but he is just not the same wide receiver he used to be. And I think things are just starting to catch up on him. Anyways, number 4, the last one is Joe Burrow, and this is probably the most severe injury. And if you watched it, it's pretty nasty. It's hard to watch. And I'm not even going to post it up on here because he tore his ACL November 22nd, and he tore his MCL. So at least his MCL, which is that middle part of the knee. So if we're looking at knees here, so we got your knee, you have your ACL in there, MCL right in there. So he tore that and it just buckled on him. So a lot of times you'll tear your meniscus through there as well. So when you tear your meniscus through there, you're going to have longer recovery. I mean, usually you're adding a couple weeks onto it at least, because you just have, again, more things to heal up. But his surgery was December 2nd, and so we're looking at potentially missing, even though he doesn't do as much cutting back, I would just plan a full year. So November 22nd of 2021, which puts us at week 15, probably, week 15-ish. Week 14, maybe around in there. So don't expect much from Joe Burrow in 2021. He's still my QB 10 when it comes to Dynasty football, but he's not going to be QB 7 or 6 or anything like that, because he's going to miss this entire year. And this, I think right now is not a good buy point, but think about week 3, week 4, when a team starts, that maybe one of their QBs goes down and they have Joe Burrow as their backup and they can't use Joe Burrow. Start looking in your leagues for potential buy possibilities middle of the year or even in the beginning of the year, because that's when people are going to be like, Joe Burrow, I forgot that I even had him on my team, because they're going to assume that he's going to be out for most of the year. And that is where 2022, 2023, 2024, and beyond, I think Joe Burrow has the talent. Please get him an offensive line. I think they have the talent. And this just reminds me, honestly, that any of the weapons for Cincinnati are a little bit in trouble as well, like Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. They're not going to have a great quarterback probably for the first at least 2 months of the season. So that concerns me quite a bit. Unless they somehow put him in a brace and they just try to, I don't know. I've seen it happen before where they tried to rush a QB too soon, and they put him in a knee brace because they're like, he doesn't have to move that much. But Joe Burrow gets hit a ton in Cincinnati, so please don't do that for your future of your quarterback. I don't think they will, but you never know with Cincinnati. But this is what ACL recovery usually stands by. So just add basically a year and know the different. Sometimes it's surprising to be like, oh, I didn't realize Joe Burrow tore it in November 22nd. Like, I feel like it was in October, and I thought he was going to be, people might be saying, oh, he's going to be ready back week 1. Just be like, no, he's not going to be ready back week 1. He's going to be gone for a little while. And know the buy points, too, that just because they had an ACL injury doesn't mean they're garbage. It actually means there's usually a good buy point for them before they get back on to the field. So, all right, this is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.